you getting yourself ready for our show?
Oh, man, here we are, guys. It's another Tuesday, another brand new episode of Jigs and Bigs for you guys. We got a good one. Suddenly in New England, summer just kicked in the door and decided, hey, I'm here. This is happening. I'm going to talk about reaching some goals, and we've got more tourneys for Sean the Fisherman. A whole lot actually went down today. It's good stuff. And just the tip, we're going to be talking about revisiting your epic fails. You know, those near misses? The kind of importance that kind of shit actually has for you and why it's important. We're going to do a double shot of FTG this week, which this sucker just fell in our laps, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, we're revisiting the very first episode of Jigs and Bigs. Not sure if you guys have heard, but we kind of hit ourselves a little bit of a mile marker, and it's pretty awesome. So we're going to go back and revisit the first podcast that I had done for this show, and we're going to give you some live commentary all the way through. Guys, you don't want to miss it. We got much more good stuff coming up right after this. Go ahead, get yourself something delicious to enjoy. Get ready to enjoy some fishing greatness. We'll see you in just a bit. Good old James Hetfield, yeah. Right after that, you know.
Did I make a mistake in the format notes and put like 14 R's in the word New England?
New England.
It was some pirates. New England.
I have had quite the weekend. So I mean, you as well. I think I got beaten up on Saturday, and you got abused today. So we're a mess. We're a mess.
Both days for me.
Oh yeah, you were out Sasaturday too. Oh, look at you.
I was
Overachieving
physically
as always.
abused both days.
Oh, there we go. There we go. It's different though when you pay for it though. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. Just like. Okay, so who do you have in here? We got some jig heads in the house. We got Gravy Fishing. We found out that we 6 Degrees game got a little bit closer. We found out in the pre-show, the prelim. Tim O'Keefe's in here. He says Bobby showing off the ink. Yeah, I had to bust out the gun show because it's like 90 freaking degrees in Western Massachusetts right now. And you know what? I'll tell you what. I believe Becca and Lila are truck camping in the Berkshires right now. And granted, you know, the Berkshire's probably a little bit cooler, but they're still feeling it. And I would not want to be sleeping in the back of my truck in these kinds of conditions. My God. We also have, Jerry House is in here. Jerry, I have money coming your way, my friend, very, very shortly. So watch your email in the next day or so. And let's talk, guys. It's been a week. How was your week, Sean?
Brutal.
Yeah.
I'm fucking exhausted. And that's our episode. Let's go to bed.
Hey, everybody. Have a great one. Good night. Good night. 50,000 plays. Beautiful.
I don't know what happened this week. I know we got out.
Oh, we did?
I'll let you talk about that.
That was an amazing day.
I have maintained my vow to be your wingman for one trip on the water per week.
I love that.
You will talk about our adventure on the water.
Yes.
I want to talk about something that happened right beforehand.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I went to Mrs. Mitchell's.
That's right.
I went to Mrs. Mitchell's. This is great. And I ordered an omelet. I let Orla Mitchell know I got to run. I got to meet Bobby Roast Beef out on the lake. And she comes back to me and says something about toast. And I'm looking up at her as I'm eating my toast, now thinking something's wrong with it. And I said, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. She said, Sean, the strangest thing just happened. A customer just called me and asked me for one slice of toast as a to-go order. I said, one slice? She goes, yes. I said, well, what'd you tell her?
You fucking glutton.
Exactly. She said that our side of toast is actually 2 pieces. The woman insisted on one, so she got a side of toast with 1 piece of toast. I said, it sounds like something from Blues Brothers, the movie, where someone comes in with a ridiculous order, like a whole chicken and a giant bottle of Coke, and
half a jar of peanut butter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So that was pretty funny. And then we went on our way, and I'll let you talk about that in a little later on. But today was a big day to cap off just a brutal weekend, to be quite honest. So yesterday we had some nice weather. It was actually what, mid-80s?
Yeah. Yesterday was really nice. Overcast too, so not like direct sunlight. It was nice yesterday.
Well, in the afternoon, in the morning, it was direct sunlight. And guess when we did the work was in the morning, of course. I had Nelson. Nelson is an accomplished carpenter, and woodworking is the bane of my existence. So Nelson and I made a deal. He came over to help me out, and I am returning the favor with a spare Metallica ticket that I have for Boston Calling.
Nice.
Because the job that he helped me out with was not fucking fun, nor was it light.
No.
So it sucked. So he earned that ticket. He's coming to Metallica. We're off. But we have a pond in the backyard, and when we moved in, there was no real good way to get down to the water.
Yep.
Other than one staircase on a deck that led to a dock, and the dock, I think we related at some point in the past 2 years. The dock during winter, the ice lifted the legs on the dock and completely fucked the thing up. So I removed that dock, which now left a staircase to nowhere. And during pandemic time, I had plenty of time on my hands to start attacking these projects, and me, my Sawzall, and a crowbar went to town on that staircase, which was Trex. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I said, well, I'm going to hold on to this because I'm going to recycle the steps
when
I could. And when I then built the new steps going down on the other side of the deck with basically, I kept it simple. I used 6x6s.
Yep.
Both Nelson and my buddy Chris helped me out there. Again, they've done construction for years, so they gave me some pointers. I made the staircase myself, so that was a nice step of confidence building.
Yeah, exactly.
And I held on to that Trek stuff, and then we finished. I kind of painted myself into a corner, so to speak. There's a large retaining wall, and I wanted to link it to the staircase, and that involved some dark voodoo magic that Nelson and Chris knew how to accomplish.
I was just going to say some kind of wizardry.
There was a planer involved in a chainsaw. It was over my head. So they got that done, and then we took all of the leftover Trex and used it like a cap on all the wood. So it looks really nice now. I'm eternally grateful for Nelson, but it kicked the shit out of us.
Yeah.
It was fucking hot out, and then we went to Plan B, and we ate food.
Sweet.
Dude, we ate food. It was so good.
This is what you do when you go to Plan B. That's the name of the game. Yeah.
True story. And then today was, today was rough. Nelson and I went down to Connecticut.
Yep.
Three Bells had their second trail stop. And I'm going to talk tourney stuff right now because we'll when tourney section comes up, we'll find out why.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into it now. And I had a double shot going on. So not only was I fishing as a part of the Three Bells tournament with another, I think it was 8 guys, so nine people total, counting myself. But Mike Morcone came down to the lake. This was a lake neither of us have ever fished, and we held our second round knockout. Now, both of us, both Mike and myself, after talking when the day was done, figured that Mike was finally due to get a win over me. I've knocked him out the past 2 years of the tournament, once in the first round, once in the second round. And after last year's run, I have no expectations on this year. I'm loosey-goosey. Just whatever happens. I'm rolling with it, right?
Yep.
We got down to the water. We were all there about 5:30, I think. Split lake, so there was a middle and a lower, and Mike and I were on the lower lake with 3 other guys. The upper lake had 4 people. We launched at 6:15. Lines in at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
I had a game plan, and then I saw something when I got there. Again, I've never been to this lake, and I saw a large section of riprap. And I said, I like throwing stuff at riprap.
Yeah, tempting, of course.
And I got twitchy. Now, one of the I'm gonna look this up because I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to fuck this guy's name up.
Yep.
His name was Jonathan. I don't know his last name. It was not Cousin John. But we all launched, and John went to that riprap first, and this was like had to have been 100 to 150 yards of riprap. And John was kind of at one place I wanted to start, so I pulled up behind him and said, "Hey man, which way are you going? So I kind of want to get in there too."
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm starting here and going that way. I said, okay, do you mind if I start behind you and go the other way? He said, fine. And at Lines In, man, with Rip Rap, I just wanted to throw a jig at it.
Sure.
If it's not a crankbait, it's a jig for me. So I threw a jig, and my second or third cast, I absolutely got trashed. It just got walloped.
Sweet.
And it was a big fish.
Okay, good.
And it threw the hook. It wasn't good.
Oh, that sucks. Well, okay.
Yeah, and my follow cast was a little bit further, and that one I landed a 19.75. Let's put a little asterisk on that. Very important component of that fish was missing from my 19.75.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
His upper fucking lip was gone. He'd been scarred, been caught, obviously, or she had been caught previously. No upper lip whatsoever. So in KBF,
what's that character? Fire Marshal Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. So KBF rules have a blanket statement in there about a closed mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Fish has to have a closed mouth, whether you can close it or not.
Yeah.
Which there's very few fish that will come across, people will come across like this. So I get it. It's a blanket rule, but it just kind of sucks. So I lost a half inch on that because I took a picture of it saying, I cannot physically close this fish's mouth.
There's no mouth to close.
It has no lip. So I was talking with my parents about this and my brother after the tournament. We had a little family get together.
Mm-hmm.
And my father and brother immediately, the comedians they are, like, oh, you got to buy them wax lips, the fake lip. Carry them with. So I actually might, just to do that, to be a
hell
comedian, yeah. So that started my day. Missed one big fish, got the 19.75, followed up with a couple 14s, and then I have to be honest with the audience, Bobby. I told you this.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah.
I have to be honest. This is just a chink in the armor here. That database that I maintain.
Yep.
That's also my inventory. It doubles as my inventory. So I can look and see, what am I catching stuff on? What do I need to carry? What do I need to have on me?
Yeah. Answers questions.
And I let something slip. I let something slip today. The jig I was using that I caught my first four or five fish. Oh, let me look.
Was it the same jig that first one thumped?
Yep. First one thumped, and then I caught four. I almost filled a limit with this one jig. I didn't fill a limit because I lodged it in a rock in about a couple rocks in about 8 feet of water, and it snapped off. And I said, that sucks. Got to get a new jig. Time's running out, and time's running out with 7 hours left.
Sure.
I reach into my box with jigs. That was a 3/8. All that was left were quarters, and I said, how the fuck did I not restock my 3/8? So I had to throw quarters for the rest of the day. I did manage to fill out a limit starting with, I caught fish on everything.
Yep.
There were so many little fish. Everyone reported that. Everyone was catching 9 to 12-inch nibblers all day. I ended up with almost 2 dozen fish.
It's like, nibblers, they hungry.
Yeah. They're getting ready, obviously, for their Lord and Savior, Trent Reznor, to perform at day one of Boston Calling.
Exactly.
So, as a substitute for the Foo Fighters, rest in peace, Tyler Hawkins. And, so I got that 19.75, and then I'm going to come back to the gentleman that was polite enough to communicate with me about sharing this riprap, was Jeremy Tardy from Connecticut.
Okay.
Jeremy ended up finishing second. I finished first. Jeremy gave me a run for my money all day because once he had actually caught a 19.5 after I caught the 19.75, and then we were just both chipping away at each other. Yep. I think I was in first place for most of the day, and then just maybe an hour or 2 hours before the tournament ended, I turned in my second biggest fish, which was a 16, and there Jeremy was ahead of me, and I said, well, son of a bitch, he's not going to like this, because he had just flopped ahead of me, and then I put the 16 in, and that's the way the scoring ended. So I finished first, and that 19.75 held on for lunker. I also ended up beating Mike Morcone. Mike had a 17, 16, and 15, and I had a 19, 16, 15. So I'm on to round 3. I'm in the Sweet 16 of this 64-person madness.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm really tired.
I believe it, dude.
Fucking so tired. And after that, like I said, we had a little family gathering for late Mother's Day and really late my sister's birthday because a little bit of COVID went around the family. Thankfully, everyone's okay.
Little touch of the vid.
Yeah, we just had to we had to postpone that.
Yeah.
And the Celtics won Game 7.
They did.
They're on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, yeah, that was my week. I'm really, really tired.
Yeah. No, it's I can understand how. I mean, just the deck job alone, or the replacing your steps and all of that. That right there could be the end of it. So let's talk as far as what I did this week. I managed to get both of my kayak sends in. The first one I had gone out earlier on in the week, and I've just been working this one specific body of water over and over and over again, trying to just really dial it in. And where I am now with it is there's a couple of spots. There's one place specifically that Sean and I refer to commonly as Congamon Junior, because it's just that kind of place. They're very different from one another in a lot of different ways. But in proximity to where I live, these are places that are like great spots for me to be able to drop my boat in regularly and go and fish. And it would be a good thing for me to figure these spots out. So that's kind of been my goal a little bit. And I've been doing one trip to one trip to the other. This week I went out, both days were very similar conditions. Bluebird skies. One day had significantly more wind than the other. I thought that was going to help me out. I was wrong. Nothing going on. I was so wrong. But it was nice. There was nobody on the water that day with the wind. And I'll tell you, it's kind of amazing because I left the launch and I immediately went to the furthest point, pedaling into the direction of the wind, and then basically allowed that wind to just kind of be my motion on the way down and work basically the entire bank all the way down in this one spot. And I would go and reposition myself here and there if there was something that was like really fishy, some cover that I thought I really needed to give a good once over to. Just nothing, man. Nothing at all. I was throwing over there spinner baits, I think a smaller underspin, again, being convinced that it was going to be a moving bite. And I threw Rig X over there too, and I was really surprised I got nothing on that. Really, really surprised. So that brings us to Thursday, and we had an awesome time Thursday. Had a plan initially, I think... That's right. I think our window of time had shrunken on Thursday initially. We had left, and I got a message from you, Sean, saying that you had, on good accord, heard that our favorite food truck and our listeners, after we tell this story, was making an appearance nearby to this body of water, and that it would serve us both well to be off the body of water in time to be the first customers there. And you were right.
How the fuck did I forget about that?
Yeah.
I am so glad I left this part to you.
Yeah.
Continue. Preach on.
So we hit the water, and I'll go from, as we're going by, I had gone by, and this is where I go past, right past Mrs. Mitchell's. I drop my daughter off at school. I zip around, and I go past Mrs. Mitchell's. I see your truck. In fact, I think you pulled out right behind me.
I did.
So we're like convoying our way to Congamon Junior, and we're out doing our thing, and we pull down by the launch, and there's like a little network of ponds out that way. In fact, like if you've got a kayak, you've got options where you can drop in. And the bright idea came up that, hey, let's not focus on that same body of water where we were. Let's go over to this other body of water, and I know that there's grass there and such. We get in the water, go to paddle over this little channel, and there's just life in this channel all over the place. Some decent sized fish too. And we start making our way over, and we have to go through this tunnel that goes through the road, and there is a giant beaver dam at the other end of it that we couldn't get through. It was just all blocked off. So we decided to say screw it, turn back around. We launched our boats where we had initially planned, and then we put a hurting on them. We basically did R&D for Rig X.
We did.
We did. I think that's ultimately all we were really throwing. I did have, initially I started throwing a very light underspin. I think it was a 1/4 inch underspin. Might have actually even been a little bit lighter. Might have been 3/16. No, and it wasn't an underspin actually. It was just a finesse swim bait, small 4-inch paddle tail, and I got hammered, and I saw this fish come up to the surface, and it was a giant. I think it might have been even a smallie. And I'm like, this is awesome, and spit the hook. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And I even made a comment. I was like, son of a bitch. So this is going to come up in just the tip. So I had made a change at that point, thinking that, maybe something in a similar situation. So I start throwing Rig X, and I dialed that in a little bit. I caught a couple of pickerel. I finally got a bass in the kayak.
Yeah.
I think this is my first bass in the kayak this year. It's just been pickerel constantly, and other people's rainbow trout. Ron, Kathy, how you doing? So we're watching our clocks diligently because we have fantastic food items that we need to consume, and we want to be there first, like right away. As soon as they open up, to allow plenty of time to enjoy.
You and I are going to be in like diapers in 5 years, right?
We are.
We're that fucking worthless and irresponsible.
Yep.
But if you tell us there's a food truck that we love in a certain time, a certain place, we're there waiting. In
fact, we arrive. So we show up, and Crazy Arepas is set up at a local spot nearby where we are. And I mean, the window wasn't even open yet. Like, they were just getting things set up, and we're in line, just money in hand, like, couple of schoolgirls, and we ordered our items. I even treated myself to a delicious cola champagne, and which paired unbelievably well. It's just a lot of calories in one drink.
Yeah,
but it paired very, very well, and I don't think I ate anything until like that evening after trivia.
The sugar washed the fat down.
That's what it did. Yeah, they partnered very, very well. It was absolutely wonderful. So I had gone out that day. I went to my trivia night. That was about like when the heat started to kind of climb, was that day on Thursday. Friday was kind of nuts. I didn't get out on Friday. I had a big wedding to do where, now this is weird. When I say I have a wedding to do, that's not weird. I show up and I DJ a wedding reception, provide music for ceremonies and stuff, but I was officiating this one as well. They got the Padre roast beef package is what they got. This is at a local golf course, and I go over there, and I had to go to the rehearsal on Friday. Rehearsal went slick. It was awesome, but like a lot of wind, and I had to deal with the wind there. My little podium that I set up, where I can keep all of my items and my script and everything together, blew over before I had gotten there. Yeah, so I had gone back to the site and I set it all back up, and I even grabbed some rocks and weighted it down so like it had just a little bit more heft to it. So it would have to be a larger gust to take it down. And the wedding went great. It was awesome. It was probably honestly. And I have a great time doing all the weddings that I work. It was really good. But there are certain weddings at the end where, like, you're just like, yeah, it's one of those where you're just like, this is why I do this. Like, this group of guests, it was just nonstop, could not miss. It was amazing. I think I had probably 85% of the guests on the dance floor all night long. Wow. It was unbelievable. It was great. And I definitely made a really good impression. Just really, really awesome. One other thing about Thursday that I want to mention is that when we were loading up to get over to the food truck, I had gone over to move my truck, and I saw a woman who was loading up her kayak, and it looked like she was about to try to go into that channel and get into that other pond like we had earlier. And she definitely didn't seem too enthused. But she looks at me and she says, "I know you." And I said, "Oh, that's frightening and incriminating. Go ahead." What do you? I said, she's like, "No, you're Bobby Roast Beef." So hello to the Fairfaxes. Wayne was, I don't know where Wayne was at the time, but we got to talking, and it was awesome. I mean, it's been a while since we've brought the Fairfaxes up on the show.
Yeah, and I reminded you, you said, "Oh, that was Kathy." I said, "Oh, yeah, Kathy Fairfax." So I went and said hi to her. And I said, "You know who that was, Bobby?" And you said, "Who?" I said,
I forgot the story. It's so good.
I said, I was pre-fishing for an event, and I thought I was alone at one secluded corner of the lake, and I stood up to take a leak because I had a bunch of water in me, and it had to go.
Yeah, it was time.
And I finished and turned around, and there was Kathy right there.
And along comes Kathy.
30 yards away, waving at me. I'm like, nice to meet you.
That's awesome. So that was definitely interesting. A whole lot of fun. Really, really great. And then I think it was Friday. Yeah, I think it was Friday that I opened up the Anchor app just to check on numbers like I do every once in a while. We crossed a mile marker on Friday.
We did.
50,000 plays.
What the fuck? Who's doing this?
Yeah, well, apparently you made some kind of an impression on Kathy because I'm assuming she's at least a handful of those plays. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think about that. It's really, really awesome. And when we started to see that number kind of climb and get close into that area, I had put it in my mind that I always wanted to do a look back at episode 1. So that's why we're doing that in our third segment tonight. We're looking back at episode 1 because I want to see the difference in, have I learned anything? How have I grown as far as an angler, as far as a podcaster, as far as all these other things? We're going to look at all these details and put it all together and just kind of have some fun with it, a la Mystery Science Theater 3000 plus some with at the end. Like this, I'm sure there's going to be some additional stuff too. But man, it was wild.
Are you Gypsy or Crow?
I'm going to say I'm Gypsy. I think for this one.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think so. I was just, man, what a crazy, crazy week. And then I had all intentions. So this is what I've got going up in the weeks coming. This week I have another wedding on Sunday going on. This one's much more casual. All just music and emceeing. No officiating or anything like that. So I'm going to be in this one spot, and it's a whole lot more casual. In fact, they asked me, they're like, just don't wear a suit. Like, it's going to be very, very casual, outdoors, lots of fun, country vibe. It's going to be great. So I'll be doing that on Sunday. And before Sunday, I'm going to get in at least, and I say at least, because this week I think I need to get at least an additional one trip in, because my wife and I usually every year we end up going and like gutting our house of all of the clutter and just random stuff, especially the way people order like items online. You get all this cardboard and stuff, and it's just so much we can't put it all out at one time for the recycling. So we're getting a dumpster and just getting rid of a bunch of stuff that we just don't necessarily need. Like, we're downsizing quite a bit. And the problem is this sucker has to go right in my driveway. So I have a backup plan. What I'm going to be doing is putting my kayak on the other side of the house in the backyard. And by hand, I can pull the trailer through into basically down to the street is what I'm going to do. And then I'll put the trailer on the hitch and drive off and do my thing, and it'll be great. It's going to be a pain in the ass in some ways, but I'm just going to make it happen. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot of lugging things around. Yep. If by chance this proves to be either too much of a pain in the ass to pull off, or if for whatever reason just doesn't work out, my plan is to get 3 to 4 trips in. Now, remember, when I set this goal for 2 a week, it doesn't have to be 2 a week. It's just got to be a total number of trips divided by 2.
Your average.
Yes, on average. So I'm going to try to get out as much as possible.
Bobby, this week might be tough for me to be a wingman too.
Oh, don't worry.
We're only going to have Tuesday and Wednesday. I have to be home all day.
Yep.
No, because you got trivia. You can't do it at night or evenings.
That's not necessarily true. So I'm thinking that Friday night could be a night for that.
For you.
Yeah, Friday night could be a night for me to go out at night. Or actually even Thursday could be too.
Yeah, the EKF trail is opening up this weekend in Messalonsky in Maine. So myself, Nelson, and a few other folks,
right.
Tim and
you guys
Tim
are
and
playing
Russ,
kayak Tetris,
Thursday.
right?
We're getting up there. Yep, we are actually staying with a friend of ours from high school, Dave Barabani.
Nice.
Dave's a great guy. Actually, one thing that I've been thinking about this, since I've been in contact with Dave. Now, I haven't seen him in at least 10 years.
Yep.
And the last time I saw him, I think I had just gotten home from active duty and just switched over to the Garda Reserves. And his mother was like instrumental in my college plans.
Uh-huh.
So she was like really one of the first mentors I've had.
Yeah.
And she was an art teacher when I was an art major.
Oh, all right.
My when you and I met, I was an art major.
Yep.
And so I had visited their house, and I haven't seen Dave in years. He lives out by Boston. So I had called him up, and I remember his parents saying he had property in Maine. I said, well, look, we're not worried about the drive to and from the lake. Like, if you want to get together, hang out, do some camping, eat some food, let's do that.
Yeah.
And we're going to be revisiting that. But the important thing that I've been thinking about since I really got back in touch with him was Dave graduated a year after us. But you know how some high school classes, they have the grades can be mixed up. You can have juniors and seniors together in certain things, right?
Yep.
So when I was a senior, I had journalism. So that worked on the yearbook and all that shit, right? But Dave was in that class too. So he helped work on our yearbook. Dave and I did the outdoor section. So not only are there pictures of me and Dave fishing from 1995, but I slipped in as many like pop culture and drug references as I could.
I'm sure you did.
So they're great. So it's good stuff. So we may have a little content coming soon with the Sean the Fisherman yearbook special.
Dude, I love it. I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing. I have this weekend is Labor Day weekend, right? Or not Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend. Or is that the following weekend, the 28th?
Following weekend, yep.
Yeah. So I just booked an event. Remember that apartment account that I have in Boston that does like traditional bingo and stuff?
Bingo, yeah.
They just booked me for a brunch.
Bingo brunch?
A bingo brunch. Now, it just doesn't make any sense for me to be able to pull this off, but I was like, should I don't know about getting the kayak in their garage. And then moving it. That might be tough. That might be really, really tough. Because that's what I was thinking about, taking my kayak out that way and then just like finding some water afterwards. Because we're going to be done at like 3 p.m. You know, easily. I'm not 100% sure the time she wants me to start, but I mean, we're going to be done with plenty of time. And I was like, oh, maybe that could be fun. Maybe I'll do something like that. But when you and I laid out this, I'm going to end up doing a bank send if nothing else.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
When you and I laid out the formatting before the show started, we kind of was like bare bones, and I'm again exhausted and want to kind of go through stuff. But we really did have a lot to talk about, especially the end part of the week from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
It was wild. There was a shit ton.
How did we forget about what I believe is your greatest music trivia round ever? So
I'm glad we can talk about this because it makes sense now.
Let me set the stage. Friday night, it was sweltering hot out.
Oh, it was
sweltering.
Yeah,
so when it gets hot out,
yeah.
people aren't in restaurants. I mean, I don't know how many cookouts I drove by in the few miles to get to the restaurant for trivia. When we got there, it was myself, my son, and Joe and Tasha were there. They're regulars for that establishment, and then the Hendo family.
Yeah.
The Hendo. For those of you, I'm gonna let everyone peer into the trivia world of Bobby Roast Beef.
Please do.
The Hendos are 3 incredibly intelligent people. So when you see the Hendos on the board, you walk in and say, "Great, I got a shot at 4th." There's no fucking around with those people. They know everything.
There's 4 of them in total. Joe is in college, so he's only in town so often. But mom and dad are both teachers, and they don't play as a team because they're competing with each other. In some cases.
You're really fucking playing. It's like
you really do.
I compare playing trivia against the Hendos to the Larry Bird 3-point contest where he just walked in and said, "Who's finishing second?" Because that's what they fucking do.
That's pretty much it. Fourth. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, boy, did I have something up my sleeve because I had game on. I got the first question, and then they got the next 2, and then for whatever reason, I went on a run in the first round.
Yep. Yeah, you were in a good spot.
Yeah, and then I won the bingo. I never win the bingo. I won it once in 2 years. Won the bingo. So that's bonus points. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm like, yeah, I won the bingo. God damn it. Then the music round. I think I only got 1 wrong.
I think so.
But everyone agreed with me, so I got the points.
Yeah. That's right.
It was crazy. I ran the table on the fucking music round. I did not because we haven't gone trivia in like a month.
Mm-hmm.
The first question was an AC/DC song. It was Back in Black. And I'm just staring at you in the monitor like, it's AC/DC.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I got to hit the button. And fucking I didn't get that one right. And then the third round, they caught up. Now, meanwhile, Joe and Tasha are sitting over in the corner being miserable because for some reason I've decided to play with the Hendos, right?
Yep.
And we get to question 20. And Joe gets it. And he fast tracks in front of me.
That's right.
And then Joe got the last question, and he won it. So after the game, I went up to Joe and said, "How's it feel to get 2 questions right all night and win?" And he said, pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good. Yeah, exactly. So, sometimes good and sometimes shit.
Yeah. The funniest thing was the Hendos are always calm, cool, and collected. They are just ice water running through their veins in trivia. And I don't know what question it was. There was one, I think I either buzzed in quicker than one of them, but from behind me over my shoulder, I hear, God damn it. And there was only the 8 of us in there. Or 7 of us in there, 8 of us counting you. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I was laughing. I told my son, I got under their skin.
So freaking funny. Dude, I got to tell you. So, all right. So getting it, specifically the music. Now, it's been a number of weeks since I've been at my Friday night venue, Casa de Lisa. It's been weeks. There's been private events over there. I've had other events booked on Friday nights where it didn't necessarily work out. And it's been a while. So as far as like the regular rotation for the themes of the music round, Casa de Lisa has missed a lot. Well, within that 3-week window, I'm starting a new series on for trivia for music rounds for songs playlists, and it's basically called the Fuck Karaoke Files. Now, I've been a DJ for a long time. Next year's going to make 30 years. I've been a disc jockey. I hate karaoke. It's terrible.
We all do.
It's bad for bar business because a lot of people don't think about it like this. They're like, number one, if you're a really, really, really awful singer and you're just there making a mockery of it and you're buying a bunch of drinks and stuff, you're turning off other people because there are people that are not necessarily going to want to be in that space and they're just going to bounce. So that's bad. But if you're a really fantastic singer and you take this super seriously and you show up and have a set list and everything else, you're probably not drinking. So that means that you're there not making them any money. You know what I mean? Not making the bar any money. So it's this weird sort of thing. And I have this theory that it is infinitely cooler to have that like back and forth with a friend where you're like, hey, bud, remember you and me karaoke? Yeah, we got to do that again. That was great. And then never do it. You know, you just never do it. And the final one, the nail in the coffin for me, if I had $1 for every time I was setting up to host an event and somebody saw the speakers go on the stand and approach me, some drunk moron, and go, hey, you doing karaoke? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're just like, but you have speakers. What could you possibly be doing? It's just ridiculous. So I hate it, but I had some good friends over at Platform Sports Bar. Some of the staff suggest a handful of YouTube creators that take their own, and they're terrible, these karaoke versions, and they post them on the internet. So I went and dug some of these up and then just kind of, made a mockery of them by making a Name That Tune round. And I gave everybody at Casa de Lisa the vote. I said, look, here's what we can do. You guys kind of lost out. I said, we can do guys' night or we can do this. And I said, we're probably going to end up doing both, honestly, because we're doing great for time. I didn't have to go through any of the rules with anybody. Everybody knew what was going on. It was awesome. So we end up doing this karaoke round, and I'm pretty sure everybody loved it. They got the entertainment out of it, 100%. In fact, you know what? I got to do this. I got to look up.
Phenomenal.
I'm going to look up.
Play the version of one.
Oh yes, that's right.
That one was horrific. As we know, here on Jigs and Bigs, Bobby Roast Beef and I are consummate metalheads and lovers of all other types of music, but consummate metalheads. And someone recorded a karaoke version for YouTube of the Metallica song One that sounds like...
Hang on, I gotta track it down. Hold on a second, man. It's not... it's not exactly nearby. It's... Oh, go ahead. You go ahead and describe it for sure.
It sounds like if someone had put a microphone in the middle of a pod of seals during mating season in Antarctica, right?
It's so bad, and I'm gonna play it for you guys because it is so bad. Which one is it?
Side note, I got it right when it was asked.
Oh yeah, you got it. You nailed it. Oh, here we go. All right, guys.
Shout out to you to screw.
We'll skip ahead.
Take my leg, take my soul, let me with life in hell.
And you nailed it.
Fucking seals. Are seals in a pod? What are seals?
I
Seals
think-
are a herd.
I don't know if seals travel. I know dolphins would. I guess it could sound a little bit like dolphins.
Seals are a gaggle.
Seals are a gaggle.
Gaggle of seals on Antarctica.
Seals are
pumping and
10 at a
making noises.
time for a dime.
They are.
They are. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, it was, Friday was good. So this is actually going to spawn something where I'm updating the Bobby Roast Beef logo to incorporate fishing, so that way I can have a little bit more crossover for promotion and stuff like that. So like the trivia people who come out and play when they're, because I want to do some merch that's got that logo as well. A Fuck Karaoke shirt's coming.
Oh,
It's definitely coming. It's got to. It just has to. And I think
FTK.
FTK. It might be FTK. Yeah. Fuck that karaoke.
FAK. But that looks like fuck.
Fuck.
Fuck all karaoke.
It's just ridiculous. It's all, goodness. Now, I will say there is a difference with karaoke. Like, if you go to a place where you're like, you have a space, like a room where you can do karaoke and be morons with your friends and do whatever, all that. I've done that before, and that is fun. But in a pub, like, start a band. If you're serious about about music, start a band.
True.
That's the way I look at it. I'll get off my soapbox. Thanks for coming on Tech Talk, guys. All right, so we were planning today's episode. We had talked about, like, there's not really a hot topic. Damn it, there is. We hit 50K for plays. That's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through those questions. We only had a few that I had posted up on our Instagram story, and had asked people, hey, if there's something you'd like me to answer on the show, I'd love to talk about it. So, Jigheads, you're in this chat right now. We got a couple of you floating around in here. If you think of a question, you want to add one in here, just go ahead and throw it in the comments. We'll go ahead and we'll answer that as well. But we had, this is a good one. We had Love the Cast asks us, list favorite to least favorite. Tacos, burritos, nachos.
Oh boy. All right. You want me to answer this?
Why don't you go ahead? Yeah, go ahead, because I feel like I have a good grasp on where I'm going to go with it.
All right. Oh man, I don't eat a lot of burritos. I eat soft tacos. I don't eat a lot of burritos.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna put burritos last. Now, tacos versus nachos. Like, I mean, really, you can get away with some like fucking lazy ass nachos with a microwave oven.
Oh my God.
Fucking cheddar and some chips, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a staple. But then when you make tacos, I mean, there's so many different combinations. You can do whatever you want. Hey, Bobby, hold on a second. I'm, based on the theme of last week of me yelling at fucking shit going on around me. Pardon me a second.
Okay.
Hey, I'm recording. Keep it down. Fuck. I told them.
They're in there making tacos.
They heard tacos. Now they're all excited.
Is it a taco truck?
Are they ready yet? So what I do is I do the lazy man soft tacos. So when I'm eating regular tacos,
The lazy man softy. Nice.
there is in fact a tortilla laying beneath top of the plate beneath, so it catches everything that falls on my pig mouth.
That's just genius. Yeah.
And yeah, you got to do that. I mean, it's efficient.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't know, man. Like when you go out to eat, or where the places I frequent, like
Yep.
you get those which I just had at Plan B, the blue cheese nachos.
Oh my God.
That are actually potato
like chips. Potato chips.
Chips with blue cheese and bacon and tomatoes and jalapeno peppers.
Yep.
And then you got bar tacos. So can I call it a tie? I don't eat burritos. The burritos lose, but there's really no clear winner in this battle.
So my thing is this. I have a special place in my heart for burritos. I love a really well constructed burrito, and I like burritos because it's there's the. So, burritos is kind of a wide open group because a traditional burrito is a rolled tortilla around some type of filling, whatever it might be. And then usually there's like sauce served on top of it. And it's like you do eat it with a fork and a knife, you know? And then you've got like that newer, like, you know, that kind of got popular in like the 90s, the burritos where it was just like this giant fatty tortilla with a bunch of stuff in it. And it truly was a meal in your hand, like everything you could possibly want. You just boom. And it's awesome. You can do a lot with that. I love them. They're messy as hell to eat. They really just are. Like, man, it's just bananas.
I mean, my son gets one from Chipotle when we go there.
Yep.
And it's the size of a football.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
They're enormous.
Yeah, they're enormous. I don't think there's with a burrito, I don't think there's any like real shining star for tortilla. It does not matter. Like it's such a backseat element of it. It's all about what's on the inside, you know? I'll tell you, like, so La Vera Cruzana is a local Mexican restaurant in Northampton, and they do a chorizo and egg burrito that is so out of this world. I usually get it with brown rice and black beans.
Yep.
And I'll order 2 Tecatis with it.
Well, this begs an interesting question.
Yep.
Does a burrito bowl count?
See, I think that's the thing. I kind of almost want to say that it might, but because the tortilla is such a like supporting cast member. You know what I mean? It's not really the lead. So
if we're counting burrito bowls,
yeah.
And I mean, I do those at Chipotle regularly.
Yeah.
Right. But I use mine as like a dip. So I get the chips and you've seen what I do it.
And then you're a hybrid at that point. Burrito filling meets nachos in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And then, when, like I just said, with going out and grabbing something special.
Yep.
Chipotle covers all the bases with non-special, but then there's bar taco, and then there's like nachos at Plan B. But for a burrito bowl special, have I ever taken you to the new kitchen in Worcester?
We haven't been there yet. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, like New Kitchen.
And
they make a chorizo egg and rice bowl.
Oh, shit balls.
Fucking make your nipples explode. All right? I'm not fucking joking around. My nipples blew off fucking years ago. Oh my God. Bang, bang. I'm a nippleless man. What can I say? I've eaten the fucking New Kitchen's food. There's a price to pay.
There is a price to pay, and it's your nipples, apparently, ladies and gentlemen.
They are phenomenal. So they're New Kitchen in Worcester. If you're in Worcester, find the New Kitchen and get their fucking chorizo bowls and hold on to your tits.
I'll bet you that's freaking awesome. Yeah,
it is.
I have to say, I think for me, burritos are probably in last place because, it's like, it's all about the filling. You know what I mean? The convenience factor, they're awesome. They're messy as hell. Especially like, I'm always finding stuff in my beard. Always.
Food, small children.
It just happens. Yeah, exactly. I was at the barber on Friday, and she was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's crankbait." Sorry.
Jimmy Hoffa.
So, I think the next one for me is going to be, I think nachos are great. Like if I had to pick a favorite like bar food, I think nachos are perfect because you can do so much with them. You know, like you really can. I think nachos beat wings all the time. Like I love wings, but I think with nachos you can do so much with them. They're great. But I got to tell you, I think I got to give the win to tacos. I'll take tacos because I can, do a variety. And like I love a warm corn tortilla. I love it. It's great. The birria tacos. Is it birria or birria? I think it's birria.
With that beer, I don't know. The shit that replaced my duck quesadillas.
The duck quesadillas. Oh, it's so good with that sauce, and it's just like it's out of this world. For a sports bar, the platform that I do trivia at has some amazing tacos. They did this seared what was it, seared ahi tuna taco, and it was out of this freaking world with like this spicy like wasabi cabbage slaw. It was so good. Like you can do so much with it. So I think tacos for me got to get the win. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, basically, since we both shit on burritos, there's really no wrong answers off that. After that.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I will always choose a burrito. I'm down. But it's like a burrito's like, yeah, all right, cool. That's an option, you know? Adam Blamecki. Adam Blamecki says, why so much hate for Limp Bizkit? Okay. I don't want to offend anybody, all right? But Limp Bizkit is just the epitome of the lowest common denominator for music.
Yes.
Like
a bad band at a bad time that got popular because of bad decisions.
Like, yeah, they didn't get popular because of necessarily because of their talent or anything like that. It was just kind of a trend, and like I just don't think they bring anything quality to the table. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask Adam this. Why all the hate for Dirty Diapers, Adam?
Oh.
Why all the hate?
Wow.
They're there.
I'm astonished and confused. Is there a backstory here?
No, this fucking Limp Bizkit is shit.
Is it Dirty Diaper? Yeah,
I'm asking the question back.
That's true.
Fuck.
Somewhere there's like a black hole that just opened up. A question with a question. I love it. Yeah, I don't think that they provide anything. I understand for some folks, and I realize this, especially younger people, because like I will do a trivia question and maybe Limp Bizkit will be part of that answer, or it'll be something like that. And you know, some people that I have gotten to know that play trivia, and I'm just like, wow, I totally thought you had more taste than that. They, you know, they're like, no, I used to love that, but they were like 10 when that music came out. Like they weren't making large investment. Like when Bon Jovi's like freaking Slippery When Wet came out, I thought that was like fucking Beethoven. Like I was, you know what I mean? Idea. Yeah, we were kids, you know what I mean? Now I was also about that same age when I discovered Run DMC's Raising Hell shortly thereafter, and I was just like, well, this obviously is fucking classic right here, you know? But it's like it's kind of crazy. You know, it's just for where, and I think a lot of it has to do with our age too, because we were in our early 20s when Limp Bizkit kind of popped up, and we're like, oh, you know, yeah. Tim O'Keefe says you almost had yourself some free Limp Bizkit tickets, though. I almost did. I think, have I seen them live? I think I have.
I thankfully have not.
I think I have. They were on the Family Values tour, the only year that I had gone on to see it, I think. And I want to say I was there primarily to see Rammstein and Ice Cube. Yeah, it was good. What else we got? I think we got one more. Oh, and this one is actually kind of podcast related. This one comes from our very own Ellie Noel. She says, your favorite interview of all time. And I thought about this.
Sean the Fisherman, fucking come on.
Well, you know, I thought about this, and this is going to bite me in the ass. It is, but it's episode number 5, and it's Bill Rogers.
Ooh, that was a good one, too.
It was a good interview, but the reason why that's my favorite one so far, like the one of all time, is because it was at that moment where I wasn't reaching out and badgering my friends to get on the podcast and talk fishing with me. You know, this is the first instance where it really clicked that, like, because Bill and I only really knew each other from Instagram and liking posts and and all this stuff. And he was the first person to like really reach out and say, hey man, I would love to get on the show if you're looking for a guest. And that's how it worked out. I was like, people are paying attention. And it was like that first real sort of back and forth where it was like, holy shit, this is really great. Like, this is not somebody who is just popping in, I had you, Sean, obviously you and I go way back. And then Paul, the second episode, I had Paul on. I was like, come on, dude, I got to have somebody on the show. Let's go ahead and do this. Initially, I wanted to have Paul as a co-host. Initially, that was the goal, but he doesn't really have the passion for Gab like I do. He's more of like an Ed McMahon type.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are correct. It was, so he's not much of the, this isn't just necessarily his thing. And then I had Eric on, and Eric, I know Eric from actually when he worked over at Platform Sports Bar. So I had Eric on, and I was like, okay, this is cool. These are people that I know and I'm comfortable talking to. But Bill was the first person where it was like that social media engagement and the show where it kind of like went back and forth. And I say this is going to bite me in the ass. Because Bill's going to run with this. Because that's what he does. Bill runs with shit.
We'll be coming back to Bill in segment 2.
And also, like, not only that, but that interview has led to so many other things. Like the inspiration to really push and maintain a weekly show every single week where I'm like, this matters to people. This is like, people give a shit. And this is really good. Because any past podcasts that I had done, I didn't have that audience relationship where I was communicating with them and meeting new people and everything. And then shortly after that episode had dropped, we had started working with Joe over at Old Glory Outdoors. That relationship exactly. Who the fuck is that guy? And then it started to kind of grow from there where we would meet more people and the network would grow and grow and grow. And it's awesome. I mean, that's how we met Gravy, was kind of like in that circle. And the whole thing, it's all been just snowballing,
His name was Gravinold.
Gravinold Fishing. That's what we're going to refer to him. If he ever takes up fly fishing and he's just like, yeah, I'm tying these. I'm tying Newports and getting loud. Oh, I love it. That is probably, honestly, I would say like my favorite, because that's the one that to me is like, wow, that was like the keystone of like all of it, holding it all, like really taking off. So that was a huge one. Obviously, I think like, I always, my short and like safe answer is always the last interview I did. Like, because I'm like, man, it was so good. Like, and they do. As we've gotten better, I think, as we've done more shows and we've gotten a little bit more seasoned, I think the interviews have gotten better and better and better. And I especially love where I'm going with some of these questions that are hardly fishing related, but I think it kind of gets the juices flowing for better conversation. So I'm all about it. I think it's great.
I think I have two.
Yeah.
Seeing as you didn't ask, and I'll just answer anyway.
Go for it. Yeah.
The interview with Nate.
That was a really good one.
That was was heart-wrenching, really.
Yep.
And then
that was like the first like real like personal story. Like he was sharing a lot,
Yes. And then you're gonna laugh at this, or maybe you might be surprised. You just said, it's funny. You just said you always say your last interview is your favorite. Yep. I think the first Matt Thayer interview is the better of the two and really stand out because you had gotten into your groove. You were coming along, man. You had questions. And then the first Matt interview, it was like you threw the playbook out and you're like, you guys were just talking like, oh man, I want to throw this. I want to fucking throw this.
Yeah.
There were no questions
It's true.
asked.
It's true. Yeah. We were just kind of all over the place.
It was jarring. Like, I remember that going, wow, that was a completely different interview. That was like
You know what's another one that's really memorable? The Cody Jennings from Jigmasters interview.
Yeah.
Not the first one. The first one was great. The second one was really like, because I knew that, like, I had heard Cody on other podcasts and I knew that he was a really good businessman. I think I've said this before, I was not aware he was as young as he is. I thought he was much closer to my age. He is a wise guy for his years. Like, he has a lot of knowledge. And I knew that we were going to be talking about things that I was really not really an expert in providing information. And to add to this, I had mistakenly taken an edible right before. I had actually kind of forgot forgotten that it was on the schedule, and I had taken an edible. And during that interview, I was falling into a descent of madness with Grandpa's sleepy medication. But that interview was amazing. You know, I mean, it was like we had a great conversation, went everywhere, and it was amazing because, like, you know, he was talking about, especially when we were talking about how like young people get their dreams shit on all the time by older folks who have been in a niche or a business or whatever it is that they're doing, and you know, it was crazy. It was nuts. It was bananas. So, yeah, that was also another good one. I don't think Cody realizes that.
I vaguely remember you calling me about that the next morning, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I think I fucked up. I inadvertently took my sleepy medicine before I was supposed to, and had an interview." And I'm like, I don't know, I'll listen to it. And you sounded fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I was like,
But
okay.
apparently, you were tripping balls.
Yeah. I was like, oh. For a moment in that interview, I kind of felt like that Chris Farley character where he was just like talking to Paul McCartney, and he's like, "Hey, so yeah, you remember like when you were in the Beatles, man? That was awesome." I kind of felt like I was that guy, but it was pretty freaking good. But yeah. Oh, look who we have here. We have Ellie Noel jumping in. She says "Gangsters."
Yep.
And then he'll be doing a publicity stunt soon about it. I assume she's talking about Wild Bill, and she's not wrong.
Nope.
Yep. And then the good old edible of doom. Yeah. It happens. It happens sometimes. But I think that about covers it. We have some tourney stuff coming up later on, just a little bit. But
The hell we do.
2 week young. What are we looking at here? Oh no, we're good, man. We covered all of our bases so far in round number one. Look
we're
at
on top
that.
of shit. I ain't doing no tourney shit this week, so
Yeah.
we can go ahead and head everyone off on that.
I love it.
I am fucked up, tired wise, and I'm not doing it this week. So
Well, let's go ahead and we will take a short break, guys. When we come back, we've got just the tip. And you remember that Smalley I mentioned that I had hooked before and he took off and I didn't get him to the boat? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Guys, don't go too far. Much more coming up after this quick message. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. We want to thank Old Glory Outdoors in East Brookfield, Massachusetts. Old Glory has an amazing selection of fishing tackle, including Sixth Sense, Guggen Baits, X-Zone Lures, Shimano, Daiwa, Luz, 13 Fishing, Arc Rods, and many more. Use promo code Jigs and Bigs at oldgloryoutdoors.com and in-store to save yourself some money and support the show. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yakutak, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBIGS10 at checkout. Visit Torrege.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Dudes, it is just the tip time. And I have a good one for you guys. And I didn't really, I gotta, again, throw credit where credit is due. The inspiration for this was Mr. KBF himself, Chad Hoover. I recently saw a video, and I forget what the title is necessarily, but basically what Chad was talking about in this video was, he used a phrase that I thought was just genius. He goes, you know, those times where you catch a fish, you have them on. You not even time that you catch fish, you hook a fish, you have them on, you're fighting the fish back to the boat, and then something happens and they spit the hook, they get off, you don't land them. Something happens. Maybe you're even going to net them and like you screw something up and they take off. And this saying he said that I thought was awesome was he goes, you got everything right but the fight. And I feel like you have the presentation of your bait, the location of where you are, the conditions to consider, all of these variables that come into play just to get that fish to eat. And then when it does and you don't land it, obviously, like we beat ourselves up over this all the time. Case in point was when I had something of size that had hooked onto my finesse swim bait and had just crunched it, and I got slammed with that sucker, but he shook off on the way up to the boat, not too far from the boat either. And I was just like, it's hard to get out of that moment. Like, you really do kind of beat yourself up over it. You're like, son of a bitch, I got to get better with my netting, or, well, what could I have done differently? Did I not set the hook hard enough? All these things kind of play into your, into your psyche and kind of break you down. But if you remember that saying, you got everything right but the fight, remember that pattern did work, and I mean, we joke about how, I lost this fish, and of course it was the biggest one. But, when you lose a fish near the surface and you can see the quality of the fish that you have, that's a good indicator that what you're presenting them is an excellent thing. And I want to throw this out there too. And there's some people that are going to disagree with this, and that's okay. I recently watched a video about jigs and the different bites that you'll get on jigs. And that thump that you feel, that really solid, the one everybody's hoping to get, that right there is a really great indication that, like, you're dialed in. Like, that presentation is working and, you're in the zone. You want to follow up and use that information. So if you miss a hook set, or, you screw something up on the mechanics of getting that fish to the boat, take note of all of the stuff that you've been using, what you've been throwing in those conditions, where you were, the depth, all of these things. And this is good information for your notebook or your detail or your logbook or your database or whatever you want to call it. And determining that it was, hey, this was something that this was angler error. I did not land this. And you don't maybe count it as a catch. That's something to consider, because it's good. It's something that you can kind of grow on. I had said that I had hooked this fish and he shook the hook on that finesse swim bait, and I immediately changed rigs. And caught much smaller fish. And I kick myself now thinking, wow, if I would have stuck with that first presentation, would I possibly have maybe gotten a little bit more quality? But hindsight is always 20/20. That's just how it works. So I don't know. It's one of those things. So it's when you do everything right but the fight, shake that off really quickly and recognize, use that for a little bit of motivation to keep going. Hey, I found fish. They're biting. There's activity here. This was working. I've heard before too, speaking of different types of bites, you can sense, when you get like that peck bite versus like a big thump. When you get that little peck bite, that maybe you're a little bit off in your presentation. Maybe it's the right color and everything's good, but maybe it's too large of a presentation. Maybe you need to downsize a little bit, something like that. But play with these things and use the information that you have to kind of, put yourself together and kind of find some success the best way you possibly can.
Bobby, you mentioned that to write down if you got one to the boat or weren't able to, in the tournament world, get it on the board, right?
Yeah.
Get it on the board, meaning the scoreboard, not your measuring board. So
yeah.
I have in my notes from last year, because, we just went through it basically again, with MAKB for the Western Division, the East and West was Shakem last year. I caught my biggest fish of the year, had it on the board. It was 22.
Yeah.
Didn't get a picture, it jumped the board. Do you think
it happens? Yeah.
I have not forgotten about that damn fish
every day.
And every time I measure a fish, Do you have any idea how many buttholes on fish I've touched to make sure they are calm and not going to jump that shit? I've caught 120 something bass this year, so about 120.
That's pretty good.
But I have it in my notes as caught this fish, measured it, did not submit it. And I, you're right. It's haunting.
Oh yeah, remember that video that Mitch Scase was so kind to have delivered to me of that fish flopping off of my freaking catch board at one of our spots up the shears, and I was distraught over it. I was like, this is crazy. But what's interesting, I didn't even think about it at the time. I kept throwing the same bait, and I kept having success. So it was like I didn't even think about it at the time, but so I guess that's really the takeaway is like, don't beat yourself up, use the knowledge because there's something there. There's definitely something there. And that's another thing that I'd love to throw out there, Sean. Like I saw this video and it was about jigs, and they had mentioned in here the type of bite, and what that can mean. I don't put a whole lot of weight into that, but I do feel like if they're really like just thumping it, like they're biting it, and it wasn't like a reaction presentation, like a punch, something like that, because that's just the way that it is. I feel like, it does help you at least use a little bit of confidence that you got the right size bait, you got the right color bait, just keep working it,
Yeah.
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 And then sometimes you feel like that, so you're like, oh, I got that big thump, that's great. And then you're like, oh, it's a stump. Shit.
Or you get a tiny tap and it's a 5 to 6 pound largemouth.
Yes.
Or sometimes you get this huge thump, like happened to me numerous times today.
And it's a 9-inch nibbler.
I crossed some fucking eyes today.
Yeah.
And they were 9-inch nibblers, just Trents everywhere.
True Trents.
Yep.
So it's tough. It is. It's tough. So anyway, that's what I'm throwing out there. Like, this is a good lesson for everybody. Keep all that knowledge, whatever it is, however you filter it out. If you want to put a little asterisk there and say like, did not land this, not counting toward the total catch count or something. Because I said this to you when I initially talked to you about it, Sean. I said, I'm one of those people where if I don't have the fish in my hand, I don't count it. Like, I gotta
I do the same thing. I count them. Well, you know what? Because I do count multi-species stuff. If I have a chain pickerel that is just being a violent piece of shit, and he shakes himself off before I can grab him, I count him.
Yeah,
I'm okay with counting a 12-inch chain pickerel. In that case,
that's true. That's true.
Bass though generally hit my hand.
Yeah. Generally, if I don't have them like out of the water, that's basically like it. I've actually had early on, when I first started fishing, where I'd be on the bank and like maybe I was at an incline and they would shake off the hook, land on the bank, and then slide back into the water. I would be like, I'm counting it.
One.
I'm like, ding. So that is your just the tip for this week. Remember to utilize that knowledge, for the best way you're able to, and make the most out of it. Now, moving along, are you ready, Sean?
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Let's back it up.
Those guys.
We'll back it up a little bit here. When we went to my wife and I this morning, we had gone out. She had some errands to run, and I had some equipment I needed to drop off. I didn't make it out fishing today, like I said earlier. I had decided I was going to kind of just recoup and just chill. And my wife wanted to go out and do brunch. So I said, cool. So I brought her out, a woman who has no real love for jazz music, but decided she wanted to go to a jazz lounge. We went and we got jazzy. And
what? Why can't they just play the song?
It was amazing. I had the greatest fried catfish and grits I've ever had. It was out of this world. Dynamite. Dewey's Lounge in Springfield. Fantastic on Worthington Street. Absolutely cannot recommend it enough. Fantastic. Great Bloody Mary too. So good I had 3. So that was our day, but when we had left, my wife and I were going for a little drive in the country. We figured we'd go and grab ourselves a little something sweet, and I get a text message from the one and only Bill Rogers.
Is this the one that we both got?
Yes,
Okay, this led to some confusion.
it did. I was very confused.
Me too.
Yes. So, Sean, I believe you've got most of this, all of the information here. Why don't you lay it out for the listeners so they know what's up?
All right. Before you and I got this text, apparently,
Yep.
there was we being part of the Old Glory and Hookset family, there was a Old Glory Outdoors trail stop, big boat at Whitehall Reservoir. It was
Whitehall,
right?
yeah. Yep.
In Massachusetts. And on two of the boats, one boat contained Zach from Old Glory
Yep.
and Wild Bill. And another boat had and a guy who says dude a lot.
A lot.
Dude. That would be Nate and Ryan Bogley. There was a side wager placed between Wild Bill and Nate. Which is kind of funky because it was a team event. So right off the bat, things are a little sketchy,
A little shisty, if nothing
Yep.
else. Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a monetary wager. I don't know if there were sexual favors. I have no idea, and it's none of my business.
It could have been anything.
Could have been a handy. I have no idea. None of my business. Could have been just a tip. Whatever. They do what they want. It's 2022.
Yeah.
So the day went on, and apparently, from what we're hearing from multiple sources, Zach and Bill showed up at the launch for weigh-in with over the limit of fish, which, as we all know, etiquette is etiquette in bass fishing. You should not bring more than your limit in. You don't call in front of other people.
Yeah.
And in some trails, that's a rule, and you will get either docked or DQ'd. But they did it. I don't know if it's a rule. I'm not involved in big boats.
Yeah, that's the thing. Who knows? They may not have even covered that, you know?
Yeah.
But
So this happened, and then I guess at some point after the weigh-in, Zach answered Nate, well, who caught what? And Zach responded, I caught 3 and Bill caught 3. And then Nate lost his shit. So figuring out that they had 6 brought back to launch instead of 5. This caused Nate to nullify the bet.
Yep.
And caused Bill to film a video of him telling Nate that they are now quote unquote even 1-1. Bill now thinking that this team matchup has somehow even leveled him up with Nate after the knockout bruising that happened a couple weeks ago. That being said, that's the whole story. But we want to bring you in on the confusion that Bobby and I were experiencing when we got the following video sent to us.
yes. Here
You
we
got it
go.
ready?
I got it.
Got it.
Is this we're 1-1 now, Nate, or
Nah, bro, you brought 6 into
1-1?
You brought 6 into weigh-in. You're
Same
only
body of
allowed
water.
5.
1-1?
You're only allowed 5. How many did you bring to weigh-in?
That's fear talking,
How many
ladies and
did you
gentlemen.
bring to weigh-in?
That's fear talking.
He said that's fear talking. Now,
Bill can run his mouth with the best.
he can. He's the greatest at it, man.
Facts do not stop him. Rules do not stop him. That was awesome. Good job, Bill.
Elise chimes in and says, usually you aren't even allowed to have more than a limit at one time in the boat, which makes sense because I would think that when you catch a fish and before you put it in the live well, you then want to weigh it up against fish of a similar size and then keep it even keeled.
Yes. And when I talked to Nate about this
Yep.
on the way home from my little adventure today, and I said that's funny because I didn't even know that was a rule.
Yeah.
But when Andy, the loaded potato, and I fished in one of the Old Glory events last year in his
Yep.
bass boat, we had filled our limit. We were looking to cull. And before I took another cast, I had we described that we had one that was shorter and fatter and one that was longer and skinnier.
And you guys had to play what was the better move.
We were trying to figure out which one, but neither of us was casting.
Yeah.
And then finally I said, do you care? He goes, nope. And I said, good, fuck it. And I threw one over my shoulder. I didn't even care.
Yeah.
And we went back to fishing with 5 with our limit in the boat. We did not have more. So I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Yeah.
And here we go. Yeah.
Oh, see, here's
God,
the thing.
Ellie's
Elise
running
knows.
threats now.
She's like, yeah. She's like, if you have 6 fish in your boat, you get penalized. So send Bill. So bend over, Bill.
Bend over, Bill.
The Astroglide will be applied, or will
That's
it?
2 S's.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So what I would like to say is Ellie, with a slight misspelling 3 messages prior, fuck those guys. They're crackheads.
They are crackheads.
We got dragged into this mess, and I want nothing to do with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, fuck Bill and fuck Nate.
1 and 1.
Yeah, 1 and 1.
Because you can't even have a conversation because Bill is so convinced. He's like, no, it's 1 and 1. Same body of water.
That's fear talking. Oh my God. I don't know what happened, and I'm so glad I'm not part of the big boat world.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
amazing. Oh,
All right.
so freaking good. My goodness.
Let's put on some Dothraki wedding music for a quick second.
A little bit of Dothraki, just for a quick minute. Just for a quick minute. What the hell song is it that I use? Is it the tournament? No, it's not.
I thought it was the tournament.
No, it's not.
We used to use the tournament.
Oh, that's one of them. Screw it. We'll use that one.
Yeah, use that one. It's different tonight. We're not going to use the Dothraki wedding
That's
music.
true. All right, here we go.
My report tonight is that I have no report. I'm exhausted. I had a long weekend. I haven't judged any goddamn Fisher Chronic trips, and I'm going to go to bed. See you guys next week. I'll be back in proper form. Bobby roast beef with sound effects. They're so smooth.
So smooth. Oh, I like that. And on that note, we're going to take a short break, guys. We'll be right back. We're going to take a look at sort of a re-listen with commentary of episode number 1 of Jigs and Bigs to celebrate 50,000 listeners. Thank you, guys. We will see you right after this. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just 2 lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here for our 3rd segment of the show. And this week, we don't have an interview guest. Instead, we are doing something that I had thought in my little freaking walnut of a brain that might be a cool idea, and that's to revisit episode number 1 of the show. And it was once we hit a goal, and that goal was 50,000 plays. 50,000 plays of this show had happened in some sort of fashion. Either people had downloaded and played or they had streamed it. It's pretty freaking awesome. So this show started April 8th of 2020 in my old office, which is located upstairs for me, 2 floors up. And it was a beast. It was a beast. And I'm going to talk about where I was a little bit in this. Actually, I'll set this up, all right? Keep in mind, April 8th, this was right before I had come down with COVID, like right before, it's probably about the week before I had come down with COVID, and my business had been decimated. I decided that I was basically going to start putting this show together, and I never really had known if this was going to get to the point that it did. So let's go ahead. We'll get to it, guys. You guys even get a taste. Some of our listeners may have never even gone this far back. You're going to hear the old open. Let's go ahead and do it. And Sean and I will be making commentary live to this.
Every now and again, I fuck up on Spotify and I play an old episode. I hear this and I'm like, man, this is so like raw and rudimentary, you know?
Oh, it totally is. It totally is. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jigs and Bigs. What is Jigs and Bigs? And furthermore, who the hell am I? My name is Bobby Roastbeef. Oh, it's so edited. That's the brand name I go under. That's like sort of my online handle and my professional name. I'll get into all that stuff later. I am a local New England-based guy out here in Western Massachusetts, and I am I'm going to jump in right now and say it already, like, I have gone away from now doing a totally different style of editing for this show. The less I can do to it, the better. I just let it be so much more natural. It's crazy. Angling enthusiast. What's
There's already like 3 cuts in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I went through this with a microscope. I am a bass fisherman. I love to fish fresh water, and it's something that has been a passion of mine over the last handful of years. But specifically in the last 2, it's really, really kind of ramped up and just taken off. So I started this podcast because I wanted to kind of have a place where I could talk create something really for the fishing community and just kind of share, my own stories. And also because, I'm relatively new at this, in my opinion, I really kind of wanted to do this also so that I could learn some stuff, really. I mean, if there's a selfish end to this, that's really what it gets down to is, at this point, I was cutting out every breath and like and every single one. And I was just like, oh no, it's got to be perfect.
I was about to ask you if you had 5,000 pre-recorded sentences that you cut and pasted together.
No, I would record it raw, and then I would go through a step at a time. And every time I would recognize that pattern, I would cut it out and just butt those 2 things together. But I never put any space into it. So it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I think part of my thinking was that it was like kind of like that YouTube style, like short attention span, just get to it like that. I'm always looking to communicate with other people, and I think this is an odd but great way for me to do so. So a little bit of background about myself, guys. I have I have a lot of experience actually in didn't edit that out, you piece of shit. Formal background. I worked in television for about 20 years at a local TV station.
Did you just say you have a bra? Because you never finished the word. I have a bra.
Let's go back.
And then you started a new sentence.
Let's go back. Hang on. Wow, I have a lot of experience actually in broadcasting. That's my formal background. I worked in television for about 20 years at a local TV station. Yeah. It was a great time while I was there, but things had changed.
I think you hung on it half a second.
I've also
I've
been a DJ, an event DJ for a long time, since 1993 when I first started. And through that, I've become a game show host, a trivia host at lots of bars and restaurants, plus private events, corporate functions, things like that. But I don't really know why I got so into detail about this. Like when I recorded this, I was so depressed because I had this like group of people that were like, you should do trivia online so we can do this. It'll be fun. And I'm like, it sucks. Like I can't deliver what you guys want in a online sort of, it just doesn't work. So I don't even know why I was even talking about this. I was just like, it's ridiculous.
You're rolling with it, man.
Yeah.
One of my biggest served you well since.
Yeah. Passions, at least, I mean, going back now, for at least the last 5-6 years has been bass fishing in a major way. And like I said, this is just where I kind of wanted to put all of that. And I thought it was a major way back then. I was fishing like 3 days a week, Banks End, going out. And that was not having any work. Well, no, actually, when I wasn't working anywhere, I was fishing every single day. But it was going out for a bank sand. Okay, cool. I got a couple of fish. Let's go home. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness.
And just have some
trying
fun.
to kill Paul at Quabbin.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I see a lot of people with just these killer Instagram pages and, sharing great pictures or doing like YouTube has just been huge. And, honestly, I've got a background in podcasting. I've hosted a couple of different short run podcasts in the past. I feel like I've got a knack for this kind of thing.
Ellie chimes in and says it's like Mystery Science Theater 2022. I love it, dude. I love it. And then she's doing her own commentary as well. Broadcasting.
As far as being able to turn out like a quality program. So I sort of felt like if I was going to contribute anything to the fishing community, I felt like a podcast was just a great place to start. You know what I'm saying? There are some great podcasts out there that I'm a huge fan of, and I'm gonna drop a couple of names now. Two of them that I've been listening to a whole lot have been well, I guess I've been listening a lot to The Bite. If you're not familiar with The Bite, it's a group of guys from the Northern Virginia area, and I
haven't listened to The Bite in so long.
About 2 years.
I mean, it's been a while. And it was a great show. I don't know if they do much anymore. I remember there was like one new episode a while back that I listened to, but I don't know that they really do a whole lot with it. I got to look into it and check up. That's on me. They could be killing it. They could have freaking 200,000 downloads, and I'd have no idea. I'm a piece of shit.
just kind of dove into that probably a few weeks ago, and they have really nice, like, beefy 90-minute long podcast. They really get into it, share a lot of info, and I really dig that. I also have been listening to most recently and just binged, man, like crazy, is Tackle Talk. Tackle Talk is another one that I've just been absolutely crazy about. You want to talk about taking something away that you can actually use in your own little fishing adventures, like real information. It's really fantastic. So part of the reason why I appreciate those two podcasts so much is that they're done by anglers who are a little further north. Like, they deal with the changes in weather that I have to deal with here in New England. Maybe not necessarily to the degree, but, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to use this first episode.
It is what it is. It is. Yeah,
it was what it was.
It's true. It's funny, and one thing that I've noticed as we've continued to do the podcast and things grow, that seems to be a common thread with a lot of people that listen. Is they're like, I finally love that I've found a podcast where these anglers are fishing in my climate, like they're in my region, and that's definitely. That was just a matter of time, I think, where people were they like that, they can relate to that. You know, if anybody else had done a podcast in New England, you know, fishing in New England, and had put it out like consecutively, like this consistently, I would have been all about that.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, it's funny. I didn't mention in the earlier segments, particularly segment 1, when I got on the water today, I should have mentioned that Jeremy, who I had, you know, kind of bumped up against and said, hey, man, I'm going to fish this way. You okay with that? I introduced myself. I said, hey, man, Sean, nice to meet you. And he goes, yeah, I listen. I'm like, oh, shit. All right. And then after the event, there was one guy that got there a little bit late. His name's Jim.
Yep.
I met Jim, introduced, and then it took him a minute, but he's like, wait a minute. You Jigs and Bigs? I go, yeah, I'm Sean the Fisherman from the Jigs and Bigs show. He goes, oh, man, I listen all the time. And he even said, he goes, I'm a little starstruck. I'm like, Jim, I'm a guy who swears a lot, does some fishing, and, you know, gets into Grampy's cough medicine every now and again. I said, I'm not a star. I will never consider myself a star. Me and Bobby are idiots, and we have fun doing this shit. And that's it.
Someday you're going to see there's going to be some like red carpet at like a boat launch for us. It's going to be magical. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
One of these days we're going to do it. It's going to be awesome. Oh,
yes.
We're going to do the Jigs and Bigs awards show. I still would love to do that. Like an award show or a superlatives. I think that'd be awesome.
We got to be both shirtless, wearing hip waders, and just bow ties.
Dude, that's great. That's freaking great.
Everyone still listening just threw up.
It's true.
To kind of share my story about fishing, talk a little bit about my passion, where that all lies, and just kind of riff for a little bit and see what comes out of all of it. Who knows? Like I said, about 5 years ago, I kind of got into bass fishing. Now, we actually have to go and rewind way back to when I was a little kid. I was probably about 6, 7 years old. I went out fishing that I can remember for the first time with my father. He was a really big trout fisherman. Used to love going out catching trout, and
this is one thing that I thought was so cool, was doing this episode and like sharing this story of how I got into fishing with my dad, and then fast forward. What was it? I mean, it was well over a year, because we were at the year mark at that point that we had gone to Champlain. And when we went up with him, I was like, dude, this is awesome. You know, I'm talking about going like full circle and having that little video clip on Ian's boat.
That was last September, so that was a year and a half.
Yeah, it was almost a year and a half.
Really coinciding with this 50,000 listens is really
the 2-year anniversary.
2-year anniversary.
Yeah, it really is. Pretty freaking awesome. Pretty cool.
Basically catch dinner, bring it home, and I grew up eating trout. It was great. It was wonderful. That style of fishing always was challenging, especially as a young kid, because I
grew up cutting audio, and I do it well.
And so bad.
Wear a bra.
Oh, it's awesome.
Sit there at the bank with my dad, and I'd cast, a line in, and I'd have a bobber and a worm, or maybe if I was using a split shot rig and fishing on the bottom, and it was just waiting and sitting, and it just didn't work for me necessarily. So I didn't catch a whole lot of fish. I got a little bit older, and I was, kind of got a little bit more into some things. I had ice fished for a little bit, mainly with him and my his friends and my uncles. We would get together and go out and do some ice fishing, and it was fun. It's not necessarily a big passion of mine right now. I do remember when I was like a young teenager. Like,
we should say also still not like a big passion.
True statement.
Settle for it when you can't get out on the kayak, but
Yeah, once, twice a year, eat some good food. Fuck it, we're done.
Yep, fuck it.
See?
12, 13, 14 years old. I'd get together with some friends. One of my friends had a house on this lake, and we would go and we would fish for bullhead. And we just had a good time.
And we were also pieces of shit and would like bottle rockets and fire them into the water, like right down, like, oh, it's cool. It makes this cool little smoke trail. That's awesome. We were fucking idiots. Man, what a degenerate asshole. It's a great idea. I'm going to go pop a Zoloft.
Catch a bunch of bullhead and just, have some fun. It was great, and it was what it was. Put that down, and I kind of had gone through the remainder of high school, probably never picked up a rod or reel all the way through college. Maybe had fished once or twice at, like picnics or something like that. We got together. There was a spot to fish. Didn't really get too crazy into it.
In the middle of a park, no water, just fucking...
No water. It'd be like a puddle in a parking lot and be like, hey, let's say you got some worms?
Mom, we go to a picnic. I want to bring my rod. Yeah, there's no pond. That's fine.
I'll make my own. I catch my own fish.
Much later in life, well into my 30s, a good friend of mine had shot me a message, and he said, hey, I'm going out fishing this weekend. And I had just bought a house, and I was looking for like some kind of a hobby that was affordable.
If I had a dime for every guest who basically had this same kind of story, oh, yeah, I used to fish as a kid. It was great. I put it down somewhere in high school and in college. Yeah, I didn't really do much with it. And then, I needed a hobby, or I needed to get back into something, And it's crazy how, like, this is just the thing, And I never thought that would be what aligns so many guests in one category of like, yeah, I came back to fishing later in life. It's crazy to me.
That was just something I could kind of like get out and enjoy, like the outdoors, get some fresh air, do something. And he was like, yeah, I'm going fishing. He used to fish with his father-in-law, and he invited me to tag along. So I went out, he and I had gone, we froze our asses off. And, it wasn't species specific. I remember it was like early March.
and we're at this little park, Dufresne in Granby. And we brought like folding chairs and like all kinds of like gear with us. I had a big thermos full of coffee. We just sat there with like baits in the water. Like, okay, here we are. We're fishing.
Was that Paul?
That was Paul. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of going out there, throwing out bait, a lot of live bait back then. And that was kind of it. Well, as you know, I kind of wanted, the bug had kind of bit me then. I was like, how can I actually get relatively good at this? Like, how can I understand what the hell is actually happening other than, throw, because in my mind, previously, it had always been, oh, you just gotta, you cast a line out there where you think a fish might be and you wait. And that's what it is. You just sit there and you wait. And sometimes that's exactly what it's all about. As a matter of fact, if I go out trout fishing now, I love that kind of stuff. I will gladly set up a few rods and just watch them from a distance, maybe enjoy a cold beverage and leave it at that. Along with this newfound interest in fishing, there's all this technology that kind of helped things along. I had a smartphone in my pocket, and I also had YouTube. That
hey, you know what is host of this podcast there? Jimmy the Jump Cut? Yeah, that's him. Jimmy the Jump Cut.
I could check out, when I was back at the house. And I started looking at some videos and started figuring out, and I was like, why is it that bass fishing is such a big deal? I was always intrigued by it, but it never really registered exactly what it was. And back in the day, I mean, there was, now you have so many different tackle boxes that you can subscribe to, subscription services that provide you with tackle at your disposal. And back then, Lucky Tackle Box was the first one I had ever heard of. And
that's wrong. That is wrong. It was not Lucky Tackle Box. For whatever reason, that's what I said, and I felt weird about recording and dubbing over tackle grab.
It was. What did it matter at this point? I figured you'd like to edit so much that was one more opportunity. People say I have a problem. So what? I edit on my smartphone every 20, 30 minutes.
Hang on, can you say that again? I need a better take. I got to splice these two together.
I said, instead of just going out and buying like, oh, I need some catfishing gear and I need some trout gear and I need this and this and that, I was like, I'm just going to pick a direction. We're just going to fish for bass. That's what we're going to do. We're going to fish for bass. And I signed up with Lucky Tackle Box, and they started sending me baits. And I slowly started working with that to kind of learn a little bit about technique and what how this all works. Now, where this all kind of went was I started getting things that I had never fished with before, getting crankbaits and jigs and all kinds of odd shaped hooks that I was not used to using at all. Not to mention that my knot tying skills were garbage. So that took a while. So I started slowly working on some things bit by bit. Little by little, I kind of got lucky. I caught my first ever fish on a crankbait. I remember it was an Ish Monroe. It was a river to sea. I think it was called a Big Papa. It was a square bill, just a big old square bill.
Just a big old square bill. Elise chimes in and she says, we should make this a drinking game. You know what? I like that idea. I like it.
She's also, she's making a drinking game. She's been tallying my yawns. I'm at 14 now because I'm exhausted. I've been yawning quite a bit. Sorry.
We'll get there.
Edit. Fuck, Bobby, another opportunity to edit. Edit out my yawns.
And it was some kind of an electric shad sort of color. And I remember I caught that, and I was throwing it on spinning gear at the time. And it was just this two-piece eagle claw combo, like a 6'6" medium action with like a 2,500 reel on there. Nothing crazy. It was just something I had bought off of Amazon because I was like, I need a fishing rod. I need a combo. So I had bought that, started using that. Didn't really know a lot about what was out there and used the technology to kind of learn a little bit more. So what ended up happening with all this was I caught my first fish on a crankbait and I was just hooked. I was like, this is amazing. I went and I started just networking with people, and the thing is with fishermen is you get one or two schools generally. You get the schools where people say, you like to fish, and they will just talk and pass on their information, try and educate you a little bit, and not only that, but just have a great conversation. That is definitely the school that I fit into. Then you have the other school of fishermen that I have found anyway from this community where it's like,
We're going to go ahead and hang up goose wings from the... We wash our cars at the ramp.
We found this whole other segment of fishermen that are complete and utter pieces of shit. We had no idea.
Don't ever talk about my spots. If I bring you somewhere, you can't mention it. You know, it's very, very secretive. It's like, this is my little, you know, this is
Like when you go fishing with your buddies and they're like, we need your license. And they're like, okay, you may know where we are, but we know who you are.
these are my honey holes. This is where I go. This is my technique. A lot of people don't necessarily talk about shit like that. And I get it. But, you know, that's not me. So anyway, I had fished for a little bit and, you know.
You know what's funny? We haven't blown up a lot of water on here, on this show. We really haven't. Like, we try to be relatively, like, low-key, unless a place just gets hammered for whatever reason and it's integral to the story, something like that. But we don't really blow up a lot of water. And when I was putting this together, I was like, shit, should I talk about the bodies of water that I fish? I was really hung up on that. And I decided to just kind of leave it alone. And it's one of the things that I think I'm glad that we stuck with unintentionally, but I think it was for the best. It was
basically what it comes down to is every time somebody asks us about body of water, our usual response is snakes. I don't know, no snakes.
Exactly. That's the best answer every time to any question. Next time, and it's been years, but next time I get pulled over, that's what I'm going to tell the traffic cop. I'm going to be like, snakes? I don't know, no snakes. And just speed off. Like I'm an old man. Leave me alone.
Throw a couple dimes at him and go, keep the change, you filthy animal.
This is all, by the way, I should say, on the bank, with the exception of this one next outing. I had gone out with a friend of mine, Sean Dominic, and we had worked together in high school. We had worked together at a TV and appliance store. We worked in the storeroom. And, I mean, we used to go to concerts together and stuff like that. Our paths had kind of, like, you know, went our own ways, and we had reconnected. He had seen through a Facebook post that I was getting into bass fishing, and he said, you should come out and kayak with me. That's a whole other story. I will have Sean on, and we're going to talk about the time.
Goddamn right you will.
Goddamn right. We had him on. He never left. He's been on ever since.
Fucking vagrant.
Kayak fishing for the first time. We had a great time, but
I will never forget that day. Because I think the boat that I initially went out in was like a 14-foot ocean kayak. Like, it was a weird boat, and it had like the fabric sort of seat. And I remember being like doing like a crunch because it wouldn't hold my back up square. Like, I just kept like drifting back down, and I'm like, oh my God, is this how it's supposed to be? I don't like this.
Bobby lay there like a slug. It was his only defense.
I was almost like, do I roll over? What do I do?
Just be aware of something, right? This is a great little STF story. We're gonna throw in here. I'm gonna throw in here while we're pausing on episode 1. When I first started hanging out with my buddy Dan, Dan grew up in the Hungry Hill section of Springfield. There wasn't much for lakes around there. His dad lived on a lake across town, and he would fish there out of the backyard. Occasionally take the boat out. That was the extent of his fishing. He meets me in high school. And I say, first time we go fishing, I'm like, you want to go fishing? He's like, yeah. I go, great. Come on out with me. We got the Chicopee River right here. I take him into the fucking swamp. All right. And then I'm like, just, you know, bring some shitty shoes. We're going to walk in the water. He's like, he thought I was kidding. And I went right into this leech and fucking turtle infested marsh with lily pads and shit. And I'm like, dude, you're not going to be able to reach the fish with a cast unless you get in here. And I don't want to get hit with a lure. And then he starts walking in. He's about fucking knee deep, getting up to his thighs. And I go, and watch out for snapping turtles. And he goes, at that moment, he goes, all the shit I'd seen growing up in that neighborhood, he goes, I thought you were nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go,
that is some Chicopee shit right there, though.
That is.
Truly it is. Truly.
You know, it was just, you know, we caught a bunch of like the little dinks everywhere.
Nibblers.
We went to this great little lake and had an awesome time. And once I was fishing from a kayak, it was just like, yeah, I got to get off the bank. I just have to get off the bank. Now I am still a bank angler. There is a boat in play, but
so I should say that boat in play is no longer. Yeah, that is no longer. There was what was it?
It was at Ascend, right?
No, oh no. There was a boat in play, not a bass fish, not a bass boat proper, but so my father, the business that he was in, he did like a lot of like, you know, small contractor work and like lots of like maintenance and stuff and estate cleanouts and things like that. And some of the stuff that you come across, like people are like, oh, I had a family member, they own this boat and can't do anything with it. Can you get rid of it? And he would get these things and end up basically having to cut them up and then scrap them, you know? And some of them he hung on to for years. There was a couple of them that he was able to get registered and everything he needed to in order to make them legal and then go out and do his thing. And he would take them out every once in a while. And there was one that he was hanging on to, and I think it had like a 90 horsepower Johnson. And he was like, he wasn't sure if the outboard worked at all. And he definitely knew that it was going to need a steering cable. There was a couple other things going on, but it was one of these deals where there were issues with, what was it? Was it the bill of sale or something like that? Like it was nothing that was ever able to work out. And my folks had downsized, so in the process, they all got chucked. They all got tossed. Yep, we went to the giant dumpster in the sky. Like some of these weren't necessarily great boats per se, but in a lot of ways, I'm kind of glad that, you know, because it wouldn't have been an ideal fit for fishing necessarily. These were definitely more like wreck boats, you know.
Gotcha.
And that's the thing. It would have been an ideal situation. So someday we may get a big boat, but for now, I'm not concerned. With this whole coronavirus stuff and my business kind of being in this limbo sort of situation, that's not happening anytime soon. So it's the bank for me.
You're goddamn
anyway,
right.
I'd fished for a little while, and there's where we're from, there is a massive reservoir that has a few sections on it where you can go out and rent a boat and fish. And my buddy Paul and I, this is what we're talking about right here. This is a big moment. Buckle up, guys.
Homicide of Paul.
Pretty much. Well, you'll hear from Paul. I might share the details, actually. Let's get through this. I'll share the details. And as we continue down the road, Paul is going to be a close part of this podcast. As a matter of fact, the next episode, I'm hoping to have him on to kind of share his story. We can go back and forth and talk about times we've been out together. There is a bunch of things we can talk about, which is great. Paul and I would go and we would rent a boat and
we'd edit some
like
shit.
a small, like a 20 horse, if that, motor, small boat. We'd go out and we'd just fish a little bit. Never had any luck there. And then the frustration kicked in and I just was not catching anything. I was basically just losing lures because my technique was horrible. I'd cast anything in there, a jig, I'd get hung up, it'd snap off. I mean, it was just, and I'm like, oh God, I'm not good at this. So I said, you know what? I took some time and I didn't fish for about 2 years. I just focused on my career. I focused on going out and just honed my editing skills.
Fucking edited.
So for those that don't know, when I said I got frustrated, I stopped fishing. There was a moment on that trip where I almost killed both Paul and I because that trip was in April, and Paul and I used to. First off, we never planned for what we were doing for fishing. Like, it was always just, we'd show up at the water and it was immediate junk fishing from beginning to end. That was it. We're just going to throw everything we got until we figure out some kind of something that worked, and then we're just going to stick with that. Well, it never happened. We went out this one time and we would always start our days like way earlier than we needed to, but so that we could go and have breakfast, and we would go to like Denny's or something. Which is not a good idea. And the way that I almost killed him was we were on this boat and we were tooling around, and before we got too far out, I was like, oh my God, I got to shit. So I was like, let's head back, man. We're here. I'm like, I'm prepared for one in the woods if we need to, but I'm like, we're so close to the dock. Let's just go back. And I go back and I, handle business. It's actually on the way there. I'm holding on to the I'm of course like I'm captain of this ship. Every time Paul and I have gone out, I am the one in charge of the motor. Not by design, it just happens to be that's the way that it works out. So I go and steering here was really loose compared to some of the other rentals that we had. And sometimes like you can actually like move them and they'll stick, in kind of in place. This one had a ton of play, and I went to go turn around to switch hands and sit the other way, and I missed the transom or not the transom. What the hell am I talking about? But anyway, so it just cuts to one side, and immediately the back end of the boat just cuts totally out from under me. Paul's up front, starts climbing up into the air. He's like, what the hell is going on? I am in the water. Like my glasses, I was wearing my eyeglasses at the time. The water line is right there, and I'm like, whoa. And I reach over, and I can feel the choke, and I pull it. And it stops the motor from running, and the boat goes. It was up like this, and we're gonna die, and it's just boom, right back down.
You're gonna die.
It was like a fucking cartoon, and we would have died 100%. Like it would have been bad. Like that water was so cold. It was early April. I mean, it was just it was bad. It was very, very bad. And
underwater.
What the thing that I can't believe is that Paul. After we had gone back and I had handled business and, sent the fax that needed to go, I came back and got in the boat and I was like, all right, you ready? And I 100% in my mind was like, he's going to be like, nope, we're done. Let's go bankfish. I'm not going out with you, or I'm going to take over. No, we went out, we fished the entire day, and it was just god awful. Like it was just, we couldn't figure anything out. It was just terrible. But again, like not having any knowledge, not just having like hearsay of things that I would pick up and not really putting any work into, it was a mess. And the frustration got the better of me. And I don't think I fished for like a year. And I think that's where we are right here.
Building my business, my trivia company, my entertainment company, building that up and up and up and up and up. And things were really, really good. Well, lo and behold, my paths happened to cross with a guy from my job from when I was working at one of the venues where I host trivia. This guy, his name is Eric Dowd. Eric is one hell of an angler, like significant a real outdoorsman, I would go ahead and say. Like really, he fishes for carp religiously. He fishes for anything he can get, but he is definitely into bass fishing as well. He and I had talked about getting together sometime to go out. Never really kind of took it seriously. And then I decided, I was like, you know what? Screw it. This was last May. So he calls me up and says, hey, bud, why don't we meet at this spot? So it's a very, very high-pressured lake in our area. A lot of people fish there. It's very, very well known. As a matter of fact, I had fished there a number of times, never, ever, ever so much as had a bite. Now, I want to go over the gear that I was using at the time because I had all but pretty much retired that spinning reel, and I was using a bait casting combo, an Abu Garcia that I had bought. I had bought some used bait casting stuff, and I wasn't even sure necessarily what I was buying. I actually still have the old Lew's reel, the 6.6 medium fast action that I bought just because I was like, I need a bait casting reel. That's what I did. So I was looking
6.6 medium casting reel. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah. Actually, every time I've heard this episode, I'm like, that drives me nuts. I'm like, I totally missed it.
Yeah.
I should have edited it and been like, rod.
Looking into stuff, I had decided, all right, well, I'm going to do this. I got myself a 7-foot medium heavy Abu Garcia Vengeance rod. Just the price was right. I felt pretty confident about it. So I bought that rod feeling like it was pretty solid for me. I had a Abu Garcia Black Max, a 6.3-to-1 gear ratio. Popped that on there, spooled up some fluorocarbon, and then hit the water. I went with Eric, and man, the curse was broken. I was throwing a weedless Senko, and I hooked up with at least a 3-pounder. Got a great picture, posted it. It was like real.
Give it a good edit.
I might use that picture for the cover of this.
Oh, good.
I might use that picture because it's a good one. I'm gonna look it up actually while we're listening to this.
Laps. I was just back 100%. I was like, the curse is gone. I was like, I had been paying attention to some things, but didn't really exercise any of it. You know, I hadn't really gone out and put anything into practice. So I had decided that I was going to take that effort that I had sat into doing a little bit of research and watching videos and paying attention, kind of taking some notes, and also picking the brains of people in my circle. And I applied that to actually going out and catching some fish, and God damn it worked. It really did. And from that point on, it was just game over. I realized something, though, at that point, that I needed to get it out of my head that it was baitcaster or nothing, or it was either school, that you really needed to work on the two. So I started kind of building a very small arsenal with kind of a ridiculous plan in order. So what I had done was I had fished a lot with that medium heavy, that 7-foot medium heavy Abu Garcia Vengeance, and I liked it. I also thought that the Black Max was a decent reel, and with a 6-speed reel, you kind of have, like, you don't have to, you can burn it, and I feel like it's easier to go faster than it is to go slower, in my opinion. So I bought another one of those combos, and what I had done was I had one that was spooled with fluorocarbon. I spooled the other one with 30-pound braid, just so I could throw it essentially for topwater. For the most part, just to throw topwater stuff, but also just to have, if I needed that braid application, I could go ahead and use that. If I was going to be, flipping a jig around or something like that, I could go to that and I would have another option. And I also bought a spinning combo. I bought a 7-foot medium spinning combo, and I spooled it with fluorocarbon. Now I've changed that setup, and now it is spooled with 10-pound braid, and my knots have gotten much better. So now I'm 100% comfortable tying on leaders and doing a lot of these things that a handful of years ago, 2 years ago, I would have never, ever, ever expected that I would have the confidence in my knot tying ability and my, ability to find structure and my ability
the confidence
to
in
kind
my
of
balloon
break
knots.
down what fish are doing. And my what?
Balloon knots.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And by all means, I am not an expert in any of this stuff at all, but I do have a small amount of confidence, and this is coming from somebody who had zero confidence in what they were doing. Like, I would cast a line and just hope. That was it. But now I've got a little bit more insight as to what I'm doing, and I can kind of break things down a little bit. Sometimes, it's fishing. We all get skunked sometimes, but now it's just part of the adventure, which is odd. So I had this small little arsenal of combos that I was using. I had been purchasing the tackle that I was comfortable with, and something changed in the way that I fish just last year. It was in late June. I had been out, and one lure I had never ever had real confidence in was a bass jig. Like fishing a jig of any kind, a swim jig, a casting jig, a flipping jig, all that stuff. It never, ever, ever really landed with me. So it was about June, and I decided that, I hear so much about how jigs perform, and I had known and I had seen some of the results and some of the outcome of what fishing with a jig was like. I started to just dedicate short periods of time every time I would go out. If the fish weren't biting, I would just throw a jig for the next 30 or 40 minutes. And, it's so funny, man. That's one thing that has changed a lot. Like the way I approach throwing new presentations, like I'll limit it, I'll give it a shot, and then it's like, nope, I'm going to try it in something different. I'm not going to necessarily force it to make it work, but I'm going to have it on hand and give it its due, give it a shot, but I'll move on if needed.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
Most of the time I would end up switching back, but I would make sure to put the time in. And that's what happened last year was the jig was just my fire lure the entire time. My fire bait to throw was a jig, either a black and blue or a green pumpkin. The brand, it didn't matter. Usually a 3/8, occasionally a smaller quarter ounce like finesse jig that I would throw on my spinning combo. But I've got a lot more confidence in that, and I realized that that's a great learning platform. So from that, I had fished throughout the rest of that summer, and I had experimented with a few other things. I had gotten into fishing with paddle tail swim baits. I'd never done that before. Had some success with that. Still working on it. Still working on the technique mainly. And then also I had fished with a Ned rig for the first time, tying on a Ned rig, and I would just use an old beat up Senko. I would save them and just cut them into pieces, and I would just put them on a standard jig head without buying anything crazy. And I had amazing success, especially going into the fall.
Man's
and
a
then this
genius.
year, starting in the spring,
What's that?
Man's a genius.
Yeah, makes it happen.
I started to up my Ned rig game, and it has been hands down right now this spring the highest performing bait that I have thrown yet. And it's just one of those things where you just gotta get in there and you just gotta grind. You gotta set goals, and it's worked. For me, it has worked unbelievably. So it's one of these things where, now fishing, I think it was probably sometime in July. I started fishing like 4 days a week. I would go out and I would fish for an hour or two, probably 4 times a week. Usually one of those days would be on the weekend. I'd go out for about 4 or 5 hours, usually with my buddy Paul. We'd fish for a little bit, and it was amazing. And I started to realize that this really just brought me an amazing amount of joy. Ultimately, that's really kind of what it all kind of.
That hasn't changed at all. It's the same reason why I still I'll get antsy. I'm like, I gotta fish. I gotta go out and catch some fish. It's like if I've got a lot of stuff to do, I'm like, yep, I gotta get out there.
Created for me was this huge amount of joy, and it just felt amazing. So I decided now, like, if I'm going to up this game and I'm going to start, bringing bass fishing into my life, instead of trying to cross things over and just kind of include it with everything that I do, I'm going to give it its own platform, and that's what this podcast is all about. One of my biggest gripes when it comes to podcasts is I'm always looking for great fishing content, but I could never find something that either had enough of what I was looking for, people that I could relate to that have to fish sort of the environment that I'm in, where we actually have 4 seasons that work this way. Like, we won't see the actual spawn until May, where I am. Realistically, we won't see
Bobby.
the actual spawn until May.
To interrupt, getting back to what you said, how many other podcasts are there localized to fishing in New England that cover everything from, really everything? Are there any? Are they all specialized?
Yeah, I don't really think that there are any. I think that that's exactly it. I think that there's a lot of them that are based either down south or they're built around, I don't want to say like niche audiences necessarily, but yeah, you get up in the north, and I just don't think you see the numbers like some places, Yeah,
I hate to even say that it's in pre-spawn right now. It probably won't be pre-spawn for another 2 to 3 weeks. The water temps are slowly getting up there, but it's still hard. You catch a fish, that fish is ice cold still. That's how it is in New England. It's just the way that it works. And on top of that, we start to transition to that fall transition much earlier, and it's much more severe for us. So it's one of those things where I have a real hard time finding content for this area that I really, really enjoy. And I'm looking to network with other fishing content creators from New England, from the north, but definitely with a focus in New England. There's some YouTube channels where I'm reaching out and speaking with the creators on those channels, so that we can put some stuff together, work together, talk, and just kind of create some stuff here. This podcast is totally meant for you to just, listen to it on the go, or in bits and pieces. Listen to what you can, come back to it. It'll be here. And I'm a big believer in not setting a firm platform per se. Like, it's going to have some rough edges where
that has changed completely. Yeah. Like, it really has. It was more like, hey, we're gonna see what works, and that was it. And then eventually, boom, we just started It started, honestly, we started with the Sean the Fisherman segment. That came into the fold. And then once we started with that, we started putting things into compartments and then coming up with the format that we have now, which I think is probably one of the best things we've had going.
Yeah.
Realistically.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
it's morphed a couple of times, but not much. Since the day you said, Sean, I have a job for you.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done much to it. It's like I said, it's a tweak here and there, but for the most part, whenever we sat down, and I remember I outlined it and said, how does this sound? And does this make sense? You were like, I like this, I like that. And we moved a couple things around here or there, and we finally settled on it.
Yep.
I think you're right. It's been fucking great.
Yeah. It's freaking wild. It's wild.
I'm going to have certain sort of flow to it, but if the show is worth an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm going to let it go as long as it's going to have to go. If the show can get what it needs to get done in 20 to 30 minutes, then that will work as well. Anyway, guys, so I am crazy about.
It's kind of wild too that we started with, this show was less than 30 minutes long, and they incrementally got up to about 45, 50 minutes for the longest time. And then your show was 2 hours. Your episode.
I thought it was like 3, because remember it kept cutting out?
No. After I did all my editing and tightened it up. Because, after I did that, it's like 2 hours, 20 minutes. Something like that. It's up there. And I was like, holy crap, that's wild. And who knew? Who freaking knew?
Yeah, we could do that every week.
Yeah.
About fishing. I hope you guys enjoy this show. I'm in the process of putting some social media together. I just put together a Facebook page for Jigs and Bigs, as well as an Instagram page. Check me out.
Dun,
Follow
dun.
there. I am doing all of this stuff right now via Zoom. I am recording
Wearing
this
my
stuff
bra.
currently in my office, but I'm recording all the segments
Wearing
through
my
Zoom
bra.
with anybody out of who's not necessarily local, or actually even if they are local. And here's why. The reason why I'm doing that is because currently we are in a state of emergency in Massachusetts and most parts of the country because of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic, has a lot of people social distancing. This is part of the reason why I'm unable to work at this moment. So I've been fishing daily as much as I can. Some of my favorite bodies of water I can't get to right now because they've been locked down because of this. So I'm just making do with what I've got, and we'll make all that happen. But so that's what's going on there. So if you would like to get in touch with me, I'm going to give you my email address right here. You just shoot me an email, rob@xzi.com. Shoot me an email at rob@xzi.com.
That's wild. I wasn't even using an email address for this. I was using my work email address for the show. That's crazy.
And I'm going to set up an email for Jigs and Bigs on its own, so that way you guys can just reach out there. But shoot me an email there. I would love to talk with you guys. Things I want to know about. I want to know, obviously, if you've got anything to share to give to the fishing community, whether it's technique or it's anything. But primarily, what I'm really looking forward to is stories. I want to hear about the epic catch. I want to hear about when the bug hit. When was that catch that made you feel like this was it for you? What?
It's so fucking wild, man. That's one thing that hasn't changed either. A lot of that is it's all about the fish stories. Tell us your fishing stories. And I think that is kind of like the cornerstone. Fucking, I'm scrolling through my phone looking for this picture for the cover art, and I just get through the boats and scrotes stuff. And there's a picture of fucking Cody's trailer. Giant dildo strapped to it. Oh, God. We have fun.
It wasn't a dream.
No, we do. We
What
have
was that
fun.
like? What was that fish that was like an out-of-body experience? I'm going to take and I'm going to share my own version of that story in another episode. It's a doozy. It's one of those things where there were no pictures, unfortunately. But it is something else happened. in that instance that made it something that I will remember for the rest of my life. 100%. Anyway, guys, I hope you dig this. I hope that I can create some great stuff for future episodes. I will be having my buddy Paul. I will have Eric on here as well as Sean, and I've got a bunch of other people that I've been in touch with. Big shout out to everybody at the Mass Bass Fishing Facebook group. I made a post there last night, and the feedback has been amazing. I've got 4 or 5 people that have reached out to me about popping in here.
I think it is. I think it may have changed over some hands a little bit, but yeah, I do. I think for the most part it is.
Wow.
Kind of wild.
And sharing their stories, which is awesome. But also a bunch of people that mentioned that they would love to just listen to something like this, on their way to work or when they're doing stuff around the house, instead of just, running a YouTube video in the background and not being able to actually watch it. So this could actually work out pretty well for everybody. Anyway, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for checking out Jigs and Bigs. I am Bobby Roast Beef, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
No music outro, nothing. Just ends cold.
Bing bong, fuck your life.
Bing bong. This is all before the bing bong. It's so wild. It's so freaking wild, man. What a crazy freaking journey. 50,000 plays. I haven't even really kept count of the guests. I mean, there's been so many.
And multiply those two by 10 and add them together.
Yeah.
You've got close to your number of edits.
Almost. I've almost achieved it. Yeah. I have almost achieved it. I don't know. It's just freaking wild. What a crazy
for our
show.
crowd that's interested in addiction numbers, the amount of beers I drank during my bad years is equal to the amount of edits Bobby has done in the past 2.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's pretty accurate. Yeah, that was a highly edited episode, and definitely something that I have tried to avoid getting into and making like a real bad habit out of, editing all of that stuff so heavily. So I don't know. I think it's kind of worked out. It's kind of been good. The
thing is, you brought on a consummate professional with years.
Yeah, that's true.
Of podcasting experience, and we don't have to edit anymore.
We don't have to clean any of that shit up. Oh my God. I remember some of your Sean the Fisherman stories we would go through, and I would do the same thing. I would just cut them hard. I'd be like, boom, 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 all of this stuff. And they went from, there weren't a lot, but I would probably take about 15, 20 seconds out.
Wow.
Of just like random stuff. But it was freaking great. Like totally different. We have so much growth as far as podcasters between the two of us. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah
Man, I can't freaking believe it. Fuck yeah.
Let's wrap this so I can go to bed.
Let's wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this show and enjoying it and entertaining us with you getting some entertainment out of this show. Really, it means a lot. We appreciate it. You guys are absolutely awesome, and we hope you continue to enjoy. With all that said, we're going to wrap this one up right now. We're looking forward to another 50,000 listens. If you have some friends that like to fish, go ahead and invite them to check out our little program here. And with all that said, everybody, take good care of yourselves. Get out there and catch some fish. We will see you guys in 7 days with more Jigs and Bigs goodness. You don't want to miss out. Trust me, it's going to be a good one. And we will see you. Have a good one, like we always say.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.
Telescoping the interstellar scene. It's a me killing. coming at you now.